was watching a great video from John Cleese, the famous comedian, part of the team from Monty Python. And of course, he's a very smart man, and he was sharing the importance of having the intelligence to realize your own stupidity. And I wanted to comment on this because I thought it was brilliant, because I think one of the most significant things that's affected the quality of my life is, and my ability to pursue success is realizing that the most significant source of suffering in my life is my own stupidity. We suffer because we're stupid. I suffer because I'm being stupid. And I think that that's such a powerful little hack to master, because if you can master it, it becomes radically life-changing, actually. And so I just thought it'd be interesting to elaborate on that, because it's something that I think is overlooked and can become easily adopted. So what does it mean? It means that often today we are focused on being right. And that's obviously an egoic imperative, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and so be it. But a lot of the problems in our life, a lot of the suffering is occurring because we are not listening to something and we're not responding to it, or we're not responding fast enough to it. So what that means is that rather than success being about getting the right things right, success is often actually about quickly correcting the wrong things. So rather than focusing on being right, it's as important, if not more important, to quickly correct things that you're getting wrong, especially because the things that you're getting really wrong are going to be the most significant sources of success, and resistance are going to be the most significant sources of suffering, and will be the biggest obstacles to your journey to success. And I think this is very powerful. So let me give you a very simple example, because I think it can help in the sense of breaking it down to a little bit of information theories I like to do. So consider this. You're looking for your keys, and your keys are there on the table. And what's interesting is, as you're looking around, shouting, "Where are my keys?" feeling frustrated because you're in a rush. Perhaps we've all been there before. And what's interesting is the data is present. The keys are clearly present, right? It's not that they have dematerialized from existence. They are there on the table, but the information is perhaps even entering the optic nerve and is being, in some sense, being processed by our brains. But we're not coming into consciousness around it because we are frustrated and upset. So we're just being silly, is how I would describe this, because the keys are there, and I'm getting frustrated that I can't find my keys. And so the specific instance here is I am overlooking the data that's clearly present. And if I just calm myself down and come into consciousness and say, oh, the keys are there, pick them up, I can quickly get on my way. And this is often the case with many factors, that where we're facing a challenge, we're just being a bit silly, we're overlooking it. Now, stupidity is a bit more serious, because it's if someone says to me, hey, Jan, your keys are on the table, and I said, no, they're not, I've looked there before, and then I keep feeling frustrated. Because here what I'm doing is I am resisting paying attention to someone who's trying to help me see something. And so often in life, people are trying to help us by pointing things out, but we resist and reject it. So stupidity is to deliberately resist the thing that can actually help you solve the problem that you're facing. And so as a result, we create suffering. So it's like this cycle. There's like silliness is where it starts. It's always a bit silly. Life is a bit silly. That's fine. And then it goes a bit stupidity, which is deliberate, right? Because we're not consciously listening. We're choosing not to listen. We know, but in some level, we're not choosing to know and listen. And then if we're stupid for long enough, we then create suffering, and often a great deal of suffering in our lives. And I think what John Cleese points out in his clip is that really intelligence is about having the capacity to realize that you're being silly and foolish, or that you're making a mistake, or that you don't know, and that you're able to quickly correct it. So often people, and often today there's a sense of a shallowness of intelligence. People, we look at things online, we have a superficial understanding, and we think we can understand things, and it doesn't occur to us that we're actually very stupid and we don't know anything at all. And as a result of that, we get ourselves into a lot of trouble. And so I think one of the things that is a term that I coined for myself and that I sort of teach at Leaderpreneur is, I call it epistemic humility, which is related to the study of knowledge, epistemology, the knowing of knowing, and humility. So what this basically means is that to start your default position of I don't know, to conscientiously say this. Now, this is particularly important if you're in a leadership role, especially if you're in a senior leadership role, because there's a lot of pressure to know things, and there's a lot of pressure to be able to have all the answers. And so you can unconsciously cultivate an approach, an attitude to the world in which you think you know things, but you absolutely don't. An example that I believe is very true is that, for example, the person who knew the least about the future of the mobile phone was the CEOs of Nokia. They had absolutely no idea, right? They thought they knew, but they didn't, and that's one of the reasons why Nokia failed so spectacularly. There are many other examples of it. I would say today the CEOs of Volkswagen, certainly in the past, potentially even the CEO of Toyota, the outgoing CEO of Nissan is discovering this now, right? Is that when you're in a senior leadership position and you think you know, because you're a senior leader, you are in great danger, because you are often placed in a position where it's difficult to cultivate humility, true humility, authentic humility, not the fake humility, right? But the actual understanding that you actually don't get it. You don't get it at all, and you know you don't get it, and you are practicing epistemic humility in the sense of making sense of things and understanding how you understand things and approaching it with caution, that you are not being too bold in what you believe because you understand that there may be radically different perspectives on it. So that's, I think, where we can end this by taking a little bit of inspiration from John Cleese and his remarkable achievements in comedy, because that's how laughter takes us through these things, which is that we're all silly, all of us are silly, and the more you can have a bit of a laugh at yourself and have a bit of a chuckle at yourself, not only does it add levity, which is always a good thing, but it also actually creates humility, because in being able to have a laugh at yourself, in the ability to realize that maybe you're not the all-knowing being that you might believe that you are, you have an opportunity to be more clear-sighted and therefore be much more effective as a decision maker and someone who wants to go out and create things. So that's really it. It's about realizing that intelligence, and the true mark of intelligence today, is the ability to understand that you are being stupid. We're all being stupid. I'm often stupid. And in fact, one of the things that's helped me reduce a lot of suffering in my life is to quickly shortcut that when I'm suffering or when I'm frustrated, I will start with the default thought, where am I being stupid? Because often as I'm being stupid right at the beginning of something, and in the causal chain, if I just adjust that, then I can find the solution very quickly. Oh, where are the keys? They're there on the table. Oh, my friend told me they're on the table. I should just listen to him and get on with my life, right? So it's about being able to practice humility in an everyday sense. It's not like, oh, there'll be this one time I'm humble. No, it's about realizing the way you do something is the way you do everything. And so practicing the stance of epistemic humility can help you to cultivate the right approach, because particularly as you become more and more senior, it becomes harder and harder and harder to practice humility, and yet it becomes more and more necessary, because you are in decision-making environments where information is very asymmetric, and you are not in a position to know, but you are easily deluded into thinking you are in a position to know because of your senior status. So that's where I really encourage people to practice the stance of epistemic humility. Understand that there's a sort of 3 levels: silliness, stupidity, and suffering. And that if you find yourself in suffering, understand that maybe a good place to start is to try and evaluate where you're being a little bit silly, perhaps even a bit stupid, because that can very quickly allow you to shortcut things. Because ultimately, it's not even about being right, it's just about getting on with things. And it's not pleasant to be suffering. And so if you can shortcut your suffering to realizing that you're making some silly and stupid mistakes somewhere, you can quickly correct them and then come back into alignment and feel happy and get on with living in this big, beautiful world that we're in. And along the way, have a little bit of a laugh and cultivate that ability to have a chuckle at yourself, have a chuckle at others, and note that when you're able to do that, that's generally a good indicator that there's humility that's present. Thanks for listening, and catch you soon. Bye.